There we go. Now we have something, right? You hear me now? Yay! Sorry. Things you should do before you start a live stream. I think I'll do a 7 tips for starting a live stream. All right. Send me your questions. I didn't have a plan, so I was working on this. I'm going to play this. This is pretty fun. This is for Apex Legend, the game. I don't know. Are any of you gamers? I'm not. The only thing I play is Madden. But I play on a lot of games. And so this is a Christmas thing we did. Let's see if it comes up. And here we go. Total Mannheim Steamroller. Total kind of crazy Mannheim Steamroller Christmas song for Apex. So that'll be coming out soon. It's not mixed or anything. That's just I just added my guitars to the track. So, so where is everybody? It's 11:30 here in Los Angeles, I'm. Let's see. So that would make it 2:30 on the East Coast, plus 8 for London. So that would be 11:30. That would be 7:30 in London. I'm going to move this mic a little bit this way and go like that. Ohio, yay. I was just in Louisville just a few weeks ago, playing for the Muhammad Ali Humanitarian Awards. I do that. I've done that the last 3 years. It's a lot of fun. I love that part of the country. I'm from Indianapolis originally, and I've been to Cincinnati. My first NFL football game was Cincinnati Bengals versus the Dolphins. I don't remember who won. Northern California. Okay. Yep. Arizona. All right. Got U.S. is fairly represented. Kingman, I think, is Mountain Time Zone. Mountain Zone. But for the Apex thing, it was just trying to get kind of a metal sound. And I actually used my G&L, which I packed away, so I'm not going to get it out. But I kind of did this. Let's see. Because I unplugged it. That's why. So it kind of had a lot of that it was in F minor. It was that kind of thing. Oh, hey, we have a Los Angeles do-it-yourself musician. That's a great name. It totally describes my career. Hey, Kathy, how you doing? Yeah, you did. You didn't have to. Oh, were you at the end last time, Kathy, or were you? Did you watch it later on the rebroadcast or whatever? Oh, and if you want, I posted on my community page, but on Tuesday night on a new website, we're checking this out. It's called stageit.com. And so basically the concept is if you've got a band, you can do a live performance just with your laptop. so it's got to be pretty impromptu. I don't know. You probably could have a director and multiple cameras and be mixing them all together and everything. Um, but this girl that I write songs with, her name is Kelly Jekyll, and we're going to do, I think, 6 of our songs that we've written, probably 20, 30 songs. And it's a pay what you can or pay what you want thing, so it can totally be free. You don't need to pay anything for it, or if you want to pay $1 or $5 or whatever. It's 30 minutes long, and it won't be rebroadcast. It's live, and that's it. And the cool thing is, I had this idea years ago. I was talking to this bar manager who managed a bunch of pretty big nightclubs in Los Angeles. And I said, man, it'd be cool is if you could log into any club anywhere in the country and watch the band that's playing there. Because I've got friends back home that are playing, or maybe there's a band that's kind of a small band, but they're great and you want to watch them wherever they go. And I'd be happy to pay $5 or $10 to watch a band from the comfort of my own home. And then the club can split, and with the band, and, there could be 50 people in the club, but there could be 5,000 people watching online. And that's kind of what this is. More metal, please. I got bored fingers today. Sorry. But anyway, so stage it Tuesday night, Pacific time. If you go to my community page, there's a link. And like I said, you don't have to pay anything. That's totally fine if you just want to watch. And we're going to upload a new song on Monday that we wrote called Still. And Kelly's a great singer. She was in all 3 Pitch Perfect movies. She's in the main group of those, I don't know, is it 7, 8, 9 girls? But the funny thing is in the first 2 movies, she had no lines. And in the 3rd movie, she did have a line. But she's actually a really, really, really good singer. And she went through, she did a lot of the vocals on that movie. So you're hearing her singing a lot. She's singing not only for her team in the movie Pitch Perfect, but also for some of the competitive teams as well. So she and I've been writing songs. It's one of those kind of things where I hate going out. And I went to a party in Beverly Hills, and I really just hate going. I went by myself, and she was there, and I didn't know her. And I just sat down on the sofa next to her to watch a band play. And we started talking. And I told her, she said, when she told me she'd gone, I said, what do you do? And she goes, I'm a singer and an actress. And I said, oh, cool. And she does Lifetime movies. So she's got a Lifetime movie coming out, Christmas one coming out. And she said she went to USC, and I went, oh, dang. Well, you should know Jasper Randall because he's a big vocal contractor in LA. And she said, well, I had lunch with him today. And I said, oh, okay, well, there you go. And that's how that's how I knew she was legit. And that's how she knew I was legit. And so we exchanged numbers. And literally the first time we got together, in 5 hours, we wrote 6 complete songs. It was just crazy. I mean, I was just like, well, it wasn't metal. Actually, the new thing we're doing is metal, believe it or not. She's really into Tool and other bands like that. She goes to festivals. She stars in these Lifetime movies, and yet she's into Tool and all this. So so the next record we're working on is going to be like heavy metal with orchestra. But she's that's going to be, it's crazy. So we're just trying to figure it all out right now. It's this giant undertaking, but she's got a fire lit under her and she wants to get it done. So we're working on it. But this Tuesday is just something fun for us to kind of get our music out there, to promote the new single for Monday. And then it's check out the Stage It thing, stageit.com. I'll write it in here so you can do, because if you got a band, it might be a great way to bring in some income. I don't know. I'm sure they just take a piece of it. I don't think you have to pay to play. I think it's probably, if you bring in $500, they probably take 10% or something like that. She set it up, so I don't know what the situation is. But it's great. And we'll see. We'll see how many people are watching. We'll see if we make any money. And we'll see if, of course, if I tell you not to pay anything, we're not going to make any money, but that's okay. But we're one of the songs, the song that we released before, I was going to do a lesson for. I actually filmed it yesterday, and then I went, because it's a song I wrote on baritone And it's basically just using. Old Helmet, where would I know you from? Thanks, Jesus. I appreciate all of you. I really, really do. I'll tell you, the YouTube analytics thing on here is great. I mean, I can see that most of my viewers are my age, which totally makes sense. Prior to the turn that off. Prior to the 7 tips for older beginners video, I had about 8,000 subscribers. Hey, David. And so I did that 7 tips for older beginners, and I had taught a lot of older beginners. When I first started teaching, I was 15, so everyone was older than me. But I kind of learned that a lot of the older guys who were taking lessons, they were in their 40s and 50s, and they were starting to take guitar because, they always wished they had. And now they were in the point in their lives, their kids are older, they're maybe in college or in high school or whatever, and they have a little more time on their hands that they can actually sit down with an instrument. Like, how do you get started at that point? So, oh, that's right. You were the one taking the music appreciation class. That's right. Yeah, I remember I took music appreciation. I had to go to 12 shows in the semester. It was really hard. I was like going to any little recital I could, and you have to sit through these recitals you really aren't interested in just to get the credit. But yeah, I'm sure you're having to do the same thing. But yeah, it was that video that kind of took off. David, was that your recommendation to do that video? The 7 tips for older beginners. I mean, you said, can you do something for older beginners? And I did that. And then I kind of moved my, because the pro market on YouTube is a very, very niche market. It's a very small number of players that are going to benefit from all the pro Guitar Secret kind of stuff, what was the electric sitar. I mean, how many people want to play, own an electric sitar? Those kind of reviews, those things were geared towards more established players. And obviously there are probably 10,000% more beginners out there than working professionals. So yeah, well, I don't know. It was actually, it was one of my subscribers that suggested I do a video like that. And it really blew up my channel. I mean, I'm at 58,000 and counting subscribers. And it's crazy because somebody, I don't know if you're watching, how many 21 people, I doubt you're watching. One of my subscribers bought through the Amazon link, bought the lute that I have. And I'll tell you, I made $80 from that. Can you believe that? It's really cool when people buy stuff on my Amazon links, or, if you just click on the link and go shopping, you don't have to buy what I link to. You can buy anything. And I get a piece of that. It's really, really cool. It kind of keeps me, allows me to spend more time doing this, which is cool. Well, Kathy, 38 you're a puppy. You are a puppy. Yeah, you're 38 young, but it is starting anything older is going to be tougher just because, what is it? They say babies can learn like 10 languages in the first year if you let them. There's a great video by Rick Beato. I may have talked about it before, but Rick Beato is one of my favorite follows. And he, it's spelled Beato, but it's pronounced Beato. And he did a video about getting perfect pitch. And, guys say, oh, I got perfect pitch as an adult, and it's not possible, he claims. And I don't disagree with that. I think that's almost impossible. I think I've got somewhat relative pitch, and I could probably, see, I thought that was an E and I was wrong. I wasn't even close. I sang a G sharp. So, it's as long as I'm playing guitar, I can't even sing an E note without a guitar. But he says that if any of you are pregnant, or wives are pregnant, or you have a newborn, if you play like really complex bebop, like atonal almost, and atonal classical music, busy classical atonal stuff, like 20th century, early 20th century, late 19th century. Even Bach even Bach fugues and things like that can be very complex harmonically and very, very busy. Uh, that is what will get your kid to actually start to develop perfect pitch. It's crazy. Check out that video he did on that. Maybe I can find it and post a link to it. Um, yeah, that's 30, 38. Yeah, Kathy, you got a long way to go. 52 starting. Yay, woo! Good job. Yeah, see, if he was younger than you, it would be the young helmet. I knew you. Yeah, you've been playing for a long time. I'm 58, so that means I've been playing for 49 years. And seriously, since I was 13. It was when I was 13 that I really. My parents had just gotten divorced, which may have had a play in it, I'm sure. And that was devastating. 20 years of marriage, and then they get separated. But so I'm going to my dad's apartment. The dad has to get the apartment, and the mom stays in the house. That whole thing. And so I go to my dad's apartment, and I bring my guitar, and I play for him a song that I wrote. I'm 13 years old. I play him a song I wrote, and I wrote it out in music. So it's in music notation. I don't remember what it was, but it was in D. I remember that. It was probably like some kind of. I was really into Crosby, Stills, Nash. Or I'm sorry, I was really into Seals and Crofts and Crosby, Stills, Nash. But I was into Seals and Crofts. Oh, was it buffering? Sorry. Let me make sure I'm on the right. I'm on the 2G. Should be on 5G. Hopefully, it looks good right here, but obviously that's just my video from here. But I played this song for him, and then when he was like, "Oh, that's nice," and I showed him the music, and that blew him away. And they say kids are always looking for the approval of their parents, but he was just blown away that I knew how to. And he was a drummer, but he didn't know how to read music, and he was just blown away that at 13 I could write all this complex music out. And so that was for me kind of the beginning. I was like, at that moment, I was really hooked, and I really started getting into it. At 15, I decided I literally wanted to move to Los Angeles and be a Los Angeles session guitar player. It was that specific. And at the time, there were less people in less guitar players in Los Angeles making a living, making a good living at it than there were quarterbacks in the NFL. I think at the time there were probably 28 teams or less. No, probably 28 teams, and 32 now. So 28 teams. Each team probably had 2 quarterbacks. Maybe some had 3. So you're looking at maybe 70. So my dream would have been better if I decided to become an NFL quarterback. I would have had a better chance of that happening. But I just stayed focused, and I need to sit down and kind of try to remember my practice routine. But I had about an 8-hour practice routine that I did every day from the age of 15 to the age of 35. And mainly because at the age of 35, in my 20s and 30s, I wasn't working as much as I would have liked. Good job. Well, the helmet, yeah, doing 94%. So at some point, I've got actually a lot of people that are asking me about practice routines or how to practice. And I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to do a video. I'm going to do a couple of videos that probably, I got 3 planned, right? Well, I got many planned, but 3 non-episodic videos coming. One is how to play faster. And it's one of those things that when I was young, I really wanted to be the fastest guitar player on earth. And I was really into Al Di Meola, who was really fast. And I got into John McLaughlin, who was really fast. And I got into Alan Holdsworth. And but then when I got more focused on session work, it was, you realize that kind of thing isn't as important. But I do have some speed chops, but I'm not the fastest. There are guys like Guthrie Govan, who's insane. There's a bunch of guys out there on YouTube and Instagram that are much faster than I could ever hope to be. But I think there are some tips, and I'm going to do it. I've got it to 7 tips. I probably could do 10, but I think I'm going to whittle it to 7 tips for increasing your guitar speed. Also, I'm going to do a video on 7 tips for worship or church musicians. And that one will probably be very controversial too. I'm not going to talk about music or skills or any of that stuff. It's going to be more big picture stuff. but I'm sure I'm going to have a lot of people disagreeing with me or saying I'm an arrogant a-hole or whatever. But in that field, I actually have a lot of experience and a lot of, I feel like, credibility. I taught clinics for Maranatha Music for 3 years in the 90s. And that's how I kind of have this ability to communicate, is because I got up in front of a few people, in 97, when I started teaching the clinics. I was scared. I'd never taught in front of people, just one-on-one. And I was asked to do it, and I was like, oh no. And so I was so thankful that the first 2 clinics I taught were poorly attended. I remember one was in Phoenix and one was in Detroit, and there were like 20 guitar players in there. And regardless, they're sitting in the front row like this, and they're like, impress me. And I'm like, and they're, most of the guys at the time were older than me anyway, just a bunch of church musicians. And I didn't even try to impress them. I think that ultimately won them over, because I just said, here's what I think, and here's what I do, and here's, what I think you should do. And so I did that for 3 years. Ultimately, by the end of that year, in fact, I'll be honest with you, I even wore khakis that were baggy so that you couldn't see my knees shake. And the first one, I remember, fortunately I had a wall behind me, and I leaned against it just to support me, because I was about ready to pass out from nervous. And I'd never had a cup of coffee in my life before I did these. But flying to the East Coast and then having to get up at like 7 a.m., which was 4 a.m. my time. And we first stop the van would make would be at the Starbucks, and all the musicians and the singers would all go get coffee. And I'm like, you guys are addicted. And then by about the 4th time I went to the East Coast, I was like, get me a coffee. And I was drinking it and just going, nasty. Yeah. Now I crave it. And I'm like, I'm addicted. So free advertising for Starbucks right there. So, and then, let's see, the other video I want to do. Oh yeah. The G chord controversy. I'm doing some research on that. Cause I show I play the G chord with 4 fingers a lot of times, open G, that's pretty much how I always play it. But back in the 60s, when I started playing guitar in the 70s, we played it with 3 fingers, open B string. And so I get people telling me, I'm playing the G chord wrong, or that's not the way I was taught, or whatever. So I'm doing some research right now to watch some videos and stuff. Like I saw Bob Dylan playing with a 3-finger G chord. I want to see when it shifted. My suspicion is it shifted with the kind of the coffee shop pop movement of the early 90s that kind of originated here in Los Angeles. And there were some bands that like Toad the Wet Sprocket and stuff that had fairly big hits in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s. So that's probably where it happened. But also I think it's a bluegrass voicing. But even then, I would think bluegrass players would only want to have as few fingers on the fretboard so they could play around the chord. So, all right, sorry, let me look through some of these 8 hours. Yeah, no, don't worry, Kathy. That the 8-hour thing kind of, and I would take my guitar on vacation and practice the 8 hours there too. I mainly because I didn't feel like I deserved a vacation, because I wasn't working enough. My wife was supporting us, and I felt like I needed to keep working somehow. And if working meant working on my talent, my skill, my abilities, then that would be work that'll pay off eventually. And it has. It's really worked. So, let's see. I think you're right. Wrong tone. I don't think I have the right tone for in this song. Let me add a guitar track and put a different tone in. In fact, I wonder if there's a tone for Sweet Home Alabama. Let me go styles, classic rock. Oh, you know what? I think there is. What is it called? I'm using Guitar Rig from Native Instruments. It's great. I get Native Instruments Complete every year, or whenever they need to update. I always just buy that because I just really like it. And I'm using the wrong kind of guitar for that. I'm not seeing it really. Let me just. Yeah, although I don't think he goes to the high G. I don't know if he goes up to that high G. that Sweet Home Alabama is what year? 75, 74. So yeah, I mean, and I bet you I could find guitar player videos of guitar players from the 40s and 50s playing G that way. I probably got to look at some cowboy, like C&W country and western or western swing music. I'll probably find some G chords in some of those songs. I guarantee I'll find G chords in some of those songs. Let's see. Jeff Minnick, yeah, you're older than me, so haha. Give me a thumbs down now. Yeah, I'll be there soon enough. Do I give lessons here in LA? Occasionally. I taught for 35 years. So I taught from the age of 15 to about the age of 50. And what was happening with my private lessons were they were canceling too much, or they were, I would forget I even had one, and I would go off to a session or go off to a gig, and they would show up, and I would totally, oh, I forgot, and of course you got a calendar and you could totally look at that, but you just get caught up in things. And then the other thing that would happen is I'd be working in my studio and writing, and all of a sudden the bell would ring, and I'd be like, oh, dang it, I got a student. So it would totally take me off my stream of thought, my workflow, and so I just decided to concentrate as much as I could on things that would generate mailbox money. And YouTube is doing that, but mainly writing music for TV and writing with songwriters, other writers, and writing for pop artists and things like that. So Over the Hills. Let's see. Yeah, I think you're right. That's definitely Over the Hills and Far Away is definitely with that G. So yeah, I don't know there's no real controversy. I do think that that if I don't know if I can find a link to it. Let me see if I can find a YouTube. It's called Hey St. Jude. So I did a cover of Hey Jude. Oh, maybe this is it. Hey Jude, yeah. Okay, it's kind of weird because they put vocals all over it. Which they're supposed to, but they had little kids singing and nurses and doctors singing, and then they had I think Jennifer Aniston sings on it, and a bunch of different artists sing on it. But I produced the tracks on this, and I played bass, had a Beatle bass, and I played electric and acoustic, and I played the Gibson Dove back there I played my folk singer, and what I did was I tuned down a whole step, like Paul did on Yesterday, which is a fun movie, by the way, if you haven't seen it. And so when you play in the F chord, you actually play a G shape. And so I played the G chord with the open B string that way, or in that situation, the F chord with an open A string, but you know what I mean. And it kind of gave it, I was trying to capture the sound, and we actually ended up putting the guitar through an amp because I couldn't get the guitar sound, and then I listened closely, and it sounded like the guitar was going through like a Fender amp and then being mic'd on that song. So I was like, wow, that's weird. But because the guitar they played was was a J160 or whatever with the pickup, the Gibson that they played. So that's I brought the Dove, I brought the Martin, and I brought the folk singer. And of the three, the best one sounded was the folk singer. So that's what I used for it. Oh, the metronome thing. Yeah. Metronome's a great tool to have. But you know what, Kathy, do you have an app? Do you have Apple products? You have a Apple laptop or computer? Okay, it comes with GarageBand. So I find it's much more fun to play with a drum loop. So just create a you don't it takes you 3 minutes to learn GarageBand. I use Logic on a daily, hourly, all day long basis. And so you can uh, yeah, it's a very, very simple. You just basically there's a button there that it probably looks like a figure, like a infinity symbol. That's probably your loop library. Go in there, grab a drums thing, and then set the tempo. You can just enter the tempo somewhere. It probably will default to 120. So if there's a window that says 120 in it, that's 120 beats per minute. So you can probably go there and just knock it down to 80 or 100 or whatever, and start dragging in loops and figure which one you like to play with. Much more fun to play with a drummer than it is to play with a metronome. 100% agree with that. I hate doing sessions where I'm the first instrument on the record. When I come in and they go, "Oh, here's the song," and "Oh, we don't have any tracks, just a click." I'm like, okay, it's hard to get any inspiration from a click. You can't get any. So that means that everybody coming in after you has to play to you, which puts some pressure on you because you want to be locked to the metronome, but you also want to have a feel and an emotion and a humanness to it. So it's tough. I like I said, I much prefer to play with drum tracks or something. Sometimes I'll even tell the artist, before I go in, or I'll say, can you at least put a drum loop in there for me to play along with, something that you're thinking about, similar to what you want. So that's often what I do when I'm even practicing. I'll practice the drum loops more than I will to a metronome. Another great app, if you have an iPhone, dude, this is insane. I don't know if you've ever looked at Music Memos. Okay, it's this app. Let me turn it off. You can see the app logo. Let's see. Can you see it? No, you can't. It's too. It's orange and it says Music Memos. It's on your phone. It comes with your phone. It's free. And it's like a memo. It's like your the voice memo thing. Okay. But this thing is crazy. So I'm going to, I set it down. Let me see if I can get this in the picture. I can't. Okay. I'll put it on my lap. Here we go. Ready? The cool thing is you hit start and it doesn't start until you actually start strumming. I love when I have smarter viewers than I am. Okay, hit stop. All right, check this out. Oh, it's got to analyze. So it's analyzing it. It knows the chords. It analyzes the chords. Hit play. Here we go. Okay. So there it is. There's a bass and a drum here. You can add bass and drums to it. Check this out. Here we go. There we go. Play. Why is it not playing? Oh, here it goes. Is that crazy or what? Oh, and that's a baritone guitar, so everything's down a fourth. Okay, what's even crazier is that if you click on, I think this, let's see. Oh, okay, those are labels. Okay, done. No, okay, you can save it. I've got all these saved here. Oh, it creates a chart. Again, it's too white. Let's see if I can take the brightness down. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, still problematic, but it creates a chart even for you. It's insane, and you can mute the drums. You don't have to have drums on it. I love when I have smarter viewers than I am. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so that's called Music Memos, and it comes with the iPhone. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. It's a great way to and you can just email it or text it to yourself later. It'll automatically upload to your iCloud, so you have it there if you need it, and then it shows up on all your devices if you need it. Yeah, I dimmed the screen, but that didn't seem to help. I mean, let me try it again. Hold on a second. Let me dim it even more. I think that's probably going to be too dim. Well, no, yeah, you can kind of, you still can't see you can see the waveform, but you can't see the little chord symbols. It's pretty dark. Oops. So anyway, somebody asked me if I still teach lessons. Okay, sorry, I get so sidetracked. Yeah, I occasionally do teach lessons. Someone reached out to me the other day and asked if I could help them get faster, and I told them I was going to do a video on it. But I um, uh, told them I would do a couple lessons. Maybe I can show them, a couple things that would help. I'm sure there's an Android version of that app. So, oh, sorry. Sorry, my potato and my wheelie bin are not happening, but the microphone should be good. It's a Gaffel microphone, but maybe something in translation. So, um, anytime I play music too, um, I think anytime music's being played through the microphone, it's trying to send too much information. The funny thing is, I do teach. I occasionally will coach actors and pop artists. Do lessons with them. I was teaching David and Victoria Beckham's son guitar lessons, Cruz, for a while, but I was charging a lot of money. They were making me come to their house in Beverly Hills. It was a real pain, to be honest. But really, really nice family. Really love them a lot, and great kids. All of them are great kids. But that was something. That was someone that Scooter Braun, who is Justin Bieber's manager, recommended me to them. So, and then my son actually ended up doing some teaching too for him because I just couldn't do it it was just to get to Beverly Hills. It takes, and they're not there anymore, but it would take an hour and a half to get there to teach an hour lesson and an hour to get home. And it was like, just not fun. So yeah, let me know. Hey, Michelle, if you find a Android version of it, um, on the Play Store, let me know. Maybe I'll post it on my story because I should do a video just on that app. I think it's a great app, and I just need to do a little more research on it. But it's a really cool app. All right, let's see what else. Let's see. Put it on here. Let's see what else. So the three videos, yeah, the G chord, the worship or church musician thing, the speed thing. The speed thing will probably come really soon. Like I said, I've got somebody coming over this week to take a lesson on that, and I'll probably refine that with him and just kind of find out what's working and what's not working. But there are definitely some things you can do to play faster. And again, my technique is not geared towards that anymore. Um, when I was trying to play really fast back when I was a kid, I'm 20 years old and I'm like really fast and I'm faster than all the guitar players in Indianapolis, and every one of them told me, well, it's not how many notes you play, it's the notes you play. And I just thought they were just jealous because they couldn't play as fast as me. And then I realized, no, they're right. It really is the notes. It's not the speed. So, hey, from Russia. Oh, that's really, really cool. How do I say your name? Can you write it phonetically? I love to be able to say. I'm still going to mispronounce it, but do I still keep in touch with Bieber? Yes. Well, personally, I really don't. We don't have each other's phone number or anything like that. I haven't seen him in 2.5 years personally, but the camp, his team asked for hooks at the end of last year. They said send us hooks, and which is what I do. And I sent him 20, and a bunch of songs got written. In fact, I was even told just a few months ago that I had 2 songs on the new record. But since then, I know for sure one of them is not on the record anymore. The longer it takes for the record to come out, the more likely. I had 5 songs on one record that never came out with Bieber and Cody Simpson. One of them did. The Home to Mama came out. And that's the one that I did a lesson on. Let's see. Super simple, but it was just kind of a cool idea. It was actually an idea I had at church. and I write my best songs on with my amp really loud at church in sound check. But I'm in Dad Gad. Now I am going to do a lesson for this song, this one here called "This Still" song that Kelly and I are going to release next. I think on Monday it comes out. So if you weren't here at the beginning, I was talking about stageit.com. Check it out. It might be a great way for you to make a little revenue for your band. You can do live concerts, and it's a one-off thing. So like we're doing a half hour. You can't rewatch it. You have to sit there and watch it when it happens because it's happening live and it's never going to happen again. So if they don't capture it, it's not like a YouTube. It's not like this stream where I'm going to post this stream later. You can watch it later. So it's called Stage It, and we're going to do a show on. You can go to my community page, and I put a link to it. So you can put a link to it, sign up. It's pay what you want. So if you want to pay nothing, that's totally fine. You want to pay $1, that's great. I'm curious what we're going to make. Kelly is really sweet, and we're just going to split it. But the song that's coming out is a song called Still that we wrote. And so I'm going to do a lesson on that because it's in Dad Gad. So I figured that's a good thing to have. Okay. Home to Mama was just basic, real simple 1-6-5-4 progression. It was one of several songs that I wrote. In fact, I get requests all the time to teach Raise the Bar, which I can put a link up, but it got leaked. So I don't make any money from it, which is a drag. And so it's not technically released. So I'm hoping that maybe it'll get released. So I don't want to kind of give away the secret that I used at this point. But Home to Mama was a lot of seconds. And it's cool because a lot of guitar players were doing these, a lot of what I call tenths. You're playing the root and the third. Which is a nice hollow sound. It's really beautiful. So what I was doing was kind of utilizing more of the ninth. So going 10. And I landed on the second of the G chord, the ninth of the G chord instead of on the root. I could have gone. But I just like the falling that kept falling. But I didn't resolve it. I could have, but I didn't. And then I kind of added the fifth on top. Gave it a little swing. And then Sam Hook wrote a great, that's his stage name, Sam Hook. He wrote a great hook on top of it. Yeah, you can, Kathy, that's an easy song to play. Anybody can play that song. Yeah, that's an easy song. Anybody should be able to play that one. Let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's see. Yeah, you play Dad Gad all that much? Oh, that's awesome. So yeah, it's definitely a really, really nice tuning. It's hard to almost hit a bad note in Dad Gad. And but like I said, the song that we did, Crybaby, is out. Crybaby is already out. So if you want to see that, let me see. I can find a YouTube of that and post it here. Because we uploaded it to all the streaming things. Yep, here it is.
Kira is into problem solving. Zach is into exploring. Grammar.
All right, so here's a link to Crybaby. It's the first song we released. And we will be doing that on Tuesday. So check out the stage. Yeah, Kelly Jake on stage. 138 tickets left. I don't know what that means. She probably set it at 150. So she probably got 12 people buying. I'm not sure. She's got 190,000 followers on Instagram. So it's just an experiment on our part. It's an excuse to get together. We actually are going to be doing a concert at a hospital in Sacramento next month. And so this is just basically the same show we're going to be doing up there. So it gives us an excuse. Actually, you're sitting in on a rehearsal, essentially, is what's happening. But if it turns into a decent way to promote music, I'll let you know, because the great thing about being a musician is there's so many ways you can make money. I mean, I did a video on that in my my poorly watched series that I'll still add to, but it's hard when you're only getting a couple hundred views of a video to go to the problem of making a video. But I have a series that's business of making music, and talks of things that I wish I knew at 25 that I learned later at 45, 55. And then there are so many ways you can make money as a musician. So I like that. And so Stage It is another way that bands can get out there and play. And if you can use Stage It maybe from your live gig at a club, that would be really cool. I'm sure there are ways you can probably put much better video quality up, but we're just going to use a laptop. That's what they suggest. Just put the laptop down and do the show for the laptop. And so we'll see basically what I'm doing right now. But music, we'll see how that works. I don't know. But people will tune in or not, and we'll kind of get feedback from that. So that's Tuesday at 6:30 Pacific time. And then, like I said, it's pay whatever you want, and you don't have to pay anything. But if you want, if you pay $5 and we get some. I'm not sure what percentage Stage It takes, or if they take the first $50 or what. I don't know how it works. So that's the other thing I'm going to find out in the process, and that's kind of part of why we're doing it, because it's just another potential revenue stream. And YouTube is one. I got TV music. I got music on the radio. One of the things that's nice about working on TV, in a movie, like I've done some movie where I'm on screen or TV shows, and those things continue to generate revenue. And if you're on the union contract for that, you get a little piece of that. So 1% of producers' gross goes to the musicians union. So if it makes $1 million, that year in syndication or from Netflix or streaming or whatever, then the musicians union would get $10,000, and then they would split that $10,000 amongst all of the musicians on that contract. To give you an example, the first one I did was Ugly Betty, and it was 2008, so 11 years ago. And I think I made, if I'm not mistaken, like $308 for the day. It's not a very good paying gig as far as that goes. I think it's $188 for 8 hours. So you're slightly above what an extra would get paid. But, in other words, at 188, I could, if I was staying home teaching for those 8 hours, I would make a lot more money than that. And so, but the thing is that $300 I made on that one day, the reason I did it was because on the back end, you can make a lot of money. And so since then, in the 11 years since, I've probably made $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 from that one day. So those sideline gigs actually are really, really kind of good to have. And I think I did a video on that also in my Business of Making Music series. It was probably the last one I did. And you probably have those kind of opportunities in most big cities in the US, because they're filming all over in New York. I know they're filming in Atlanta all the time. So if you live in Atlanta, they film there a lot. In New Orleans, they film a lot. In Vancouver, they're filming all the time. Now, part of the reason they're filming there is because they're doing this all non-union. So if it's non-union, then there's no back end. I did get called to do so keep in mind what they're paying you for is what's called producer's gross. And that's, they're paying you secondary market money. Primary market for a feature film. So I did a movie called Gangster Squad with Ryan Gosling. And I got to spend a whole 5 days on set with Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone. It was pretty fun. And they were cool. I mean, I didn't talk to Emma at all, but Ryan I talked to quite a bit. And it was a whole week and the primary market for a feature film like that is US theatrical. So I'm getting paid whatever I got paid, and I forget what it was ultimately for the week, but it was pretty good because we were doing a lot of late nights, a lot of overtime, and we were skipping a lot of meals. So when they skip a meal, they have to, it's a penalty, and they have to pay you for that. And we, oh, and the crazy thing is they cut our hair. So we had, that was when I got like shorter hair, was because my hair was long going in that. So they cut it off, and that the whole week I got a 50% bump just because I had my hair cut. So I'm like, sure, heck yeah, hair grows back. so, so I ended up making pretty decent money for the week. And since then I've made pretty good money off of it too. But the secondary market for feature film, for example, is foreign theatrical. So you've got US theatrical is what you're paid for, but you're not paid for foreign theatrical. You're not paid for DVD sales. You're not paid for airline use, internet, like streaming, cable use, network use, all of those other uses. You get paid later for those, and it's called producers gross. It's the full amount they get in. So if they make 40 million, then of that 400,000 of it has to go to the musicians union to get divided up among all the musicians based on how much they got paid. Now, if you made $100, or if you made $1,000 on that movie, and another guy made 10,000, he's going to get 10 times what you got because his percentage is higher. And so this is just, like I said, this is just one of the ways that you can continue to make money, where you make money, residual income as a musician. It's one of the things I like about this job. And that's kind of why, like I said before, I kind of stopped teaching because I wanted to concentrate more on the writing, and the residual income, things that will continue even if I choose to retire. In fact, copyright laws are such now that my wife and kids will get money off of my songs, my music, for 75 years after I die. It used to be 50, but because of a mouse, it got bumped up to 75 because it's been almost 50 years since Walt Disney died, and so Disney lobbied Congress to change it to 75 years. So, but that's actually in line with Europe, because Europe's been around for couple more years in America. They tend to have a more long range view of things. So anyway, it's interesting. Oh, it's New Zealand. I have a friend that was just there, and she loved it. Loved New Zealand. It's great that you were going to upload later. So, oh yeah, you can totally, yeah. This will stay up. I mean, I'll get a few hundred views of it, but it's what it is. Let's see what else we got here. Well, it's funny. Yeah, most profitable. It's funny because when the TV people I work with know that I'm working with pop artists, and Justin Bieber in particular, they say, "Oh, pop music, that's where the money is." And when I work with the pop people, they're like, "You write music for TV? Well, that's where the money is." It's the grass is always greener syndrome. And for me, it's mostly like I find that writing for cable television is actually brings in a good. Takes care of a lot of bills, and so I write a lot of what's called library music, and I don't write for music libraries. I write for production companies directly. So my music's much more likely to get on air because the production company owns the publishing of my music. So that means they make money on it if I make money, and if they use it, then we both make money. Whereas if they're using some outside library, they don't make any money on the back end on that using that music. So they're more likely to use music that they own. And so I write directly for production companies, and I find that I'll write a lot of rock, kind of driving rock fun songs, or tension cues. They call them tension cues. Thinking cues, bump 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 bump, things like that. And they can use the same piece of music on 5 different, 10 different, 20 different episodes of a show, because what they do in reality shows is they edit to the music. They've got all these camera files coming in. They've got like 5 to 7 camera angles, and the editors have to cut that, and they like to cut it to music. So they'll drop in some music that they find in their library, and they'll put it in there, and then they'll cut to it. So if you got music that's fun for them to cut to or works for the scene, then it's much more likely to get used. That's totally different than if I were writing for a dramatic TV show. If I were writing for a dramatic TV show, they would send me the episode, and I would write the music to help sell the moment. in the show, and that's a totally different thing. I don't do that. I work for a lot of people that do. Um, I work for Steve Jablonsky. We're working on a new movie called Wonderland. Um, I can I can send you my IMDb so you can see it. You can see the stuff I've worked on, and just looking at that, you can tell that you probably, no matter where you are, um, you're probably going to hear me playing guitar at some point during the day, if not all day somewhere. But if you just Google, go to here. Come on, load. Load. It's not loading. Oops. There we go. If um, but like I did the last Transformers movie, I played on that. Let me see if I can get this. Okay, here it is. So if you click on this, you can see my IMDb page. There's a lot of credits. There's a lot of, and I haven't kept it totally up to date. I've got more credits that I haven't added to, but uh, a lot of that stuff. Anytime it says composer or additional music composed by, that's music. As long if that show airs, I make money. Um, there's some also you can see like some of the guitar instructions I did. Like I told you, one of the things I do is um, coaching actors. I did Gethin Anthony, who was in Game of Thrones. He was like one of the kings in the first season, and we became friends when after I coached him for a TV series called Aquarius, where he was playing Charles Manson. And so I had to teach him how to play this Charles Manson song, and it was the easiest song. In fact, oh my gosh, oh, I should totally do a video of this. Uh, uh, um, okay, I didn't know they had it. I'll check that out, David. I will check it out right now. What would I put on my wish list? I'll tell you what. I will come up with something for that, and I will promote that. But anyway, so Gethin, so it was a one chord song. It was just an E chord banging out, and it was. I don't know if you know the history of Charles Manson, but he came to L.A. He wanted to be a rock star, and somehow he met the either producer or manager for the Beach Boys, and that's kind of how all this thing got started. Part of it was he got disillusioned, I think, by the whole process because he was awful. But he did release a record, and so there's music out there. You can literally look up Charles Manson on YouTube and hear some of these songs. And so Gethin was learning this, so I had to show him this one song, which just an E chord, pretty simple strumming pattern. So I worked with him in his trailer, but he was in makeup and dressed as the character, so he freaking looked like Charles Manson. It was creepy. So he's like working on it. We're in his trailer practicing, and I got my guitar, and we're both strumming, and he's copying what I'm doing, and he's getting it down, and then he goes, okay, let me try it. I said, okay, you try it, and I'll just sit here, you just practice. And he starts playing the song, and he's singing the song, and he gets in character, and he's looking at me in the eye in character as Charles Manson doing the song, and literally the hair on the back of my neck stood up. It was the creepiest thing. It was really, really crazy, but really fun. I mean, it's really cool. I actually really enjoy coaching actors, because I'll tell you, every actor I've ever been hired to coach has gotten good enough. They were going to use tracks and have them pretend to play, but pretty much every actor I've ever coached has gotten good enough with my teaching, but far more important, their hard work. Every actor I've ever worked with works really hard at getting it down, and every actor's been able to just go ahead and do it on camera, so they didn't have to use a track, which makes it in some ways a lot easier and a lot more authentic. And all of us musicians watching are going, he's not really playing, it's like an E chord, and he's like up here doing two hands, so that's the kind of thing. It's kind of fun. But to Toowoomba, Australia. Wow. My stepbrother lives in Sydney, in a really nice Clondalf Beach or something, a really nice area of Sydney overlooking Clondalf Beach. He's got a great place there. But let's see what else. Anyway, so Kathy, for me, probably right now, the biggest thing is writing music for television. The pop stuff is just icing on the cake. Those will be those surprise checks you get every now and then. But right now, every song I've written that's been released, none of them have been hits. They've been, just on an album with a bunch of other tracks, and there may be a hit on the record, like the Bieber record, "Home to Mama." That album it came out on Purpose, but only on the Japan release. So that um, I didn't see a whole lot from that. Mechanicals or Performance. I saw a few thousand, I don't know, maybe $10,000 from it or something total over the years, but not enough to live on. However, if you have a hit and you own a good percentage, now I've had friends have hits and they own 2% of a song. It's just not going to bring in much money. It gives them some credibility, but if a song's not a hit, yeah, it's not gonna be it's not going to be massive, so it's not going to be a lot of money. You are welcome. Thank you for watching. I've got a lot of great compliments here. I guess you wouldn't be watching me if you didn't like how I taught, but it's just, I don't know if you can see all these the live chat. Can I save the live chat? I've only had to moderate one comment. Sometimes I have to moderate more, but that's mainly because nobody's saying anything weird. So they're doing a $5,000 giveaway that you can wish for whatever you want. I would probably get boring stuff like mic pre's or maybe some new speakers. I don't know. Software. There's some software I want to get. I don't know if I think I can. I don't work for them, so I think I can feasibly enter the contest. I always try to check. I try to check the contest. If you're not familiar with Sweetwater Music, every month they have a new contest. I think that's the link. Well, it's not a link, but you can copy and paste that into your browser. But Sweetwater has a giveaway every month, and so sorry, David, I'm gonna water down your chances. But I have one giveaway. I used to do that when the internet was a new thing. That was one of the things you could look up and enter. And so I would just Google. Actually, it was before Google. Back in Yahoo, I would just go to Yahoo and enter and search. I would enter giveaways, and all these websites would come up, and I'd enter all these giveaways. And I actually won one from Carvin. Carvin has stores. They used to have stores. Oh yeah, that's a good. I would say that's a good call, David. Oh, do you? I'm assuming you enter it in there. But anyway, so I won a $250 gift card at Carvin, which wasn't enough to buy a guitar. So I ended up buying mic stands. And actually, this mic stand that I'm using here, I've had for 20 years. It says Carvin on it, and it's one of the ones I won. So it was mic stands and I think guitar stands and things like that. So that's what it was, again, pretty boring. But $250, I didn't want to. I think what they were hoping was I was going to take that $250 and apply it towards a $2,000 guitar or something like that, but that wasn't going to happen. Okay, cool. Yep. So I'll do that. I'll do that later. It won't be hard for me to find anything on. I got to be careful though, because I may put something on there that I'm going to buy anyway. All right. So I should probably have a plan before I start these, but. Let's see. And I talked about the cluster guitar before. You saw that anyway. And I have my baritone out, which I always love to play. Um, recommendations for first amp. Yeah, that's always the question. What's your budget? I got I have I don't have it in here, but I did a review of it's they don't make it anymore, but the small practice amp that Vox makes is is a great little amp, and the tremolo on that thing sounds great. It's even I think it came with reverb and everything, and it's an actual amp that I would use for recordings. I got two of them, so I could do kind of a stereo thing if I wanted. So, um, but and at the time it was like $100. So let me look up. Um, go to Amazon. I can look up see if there's a similar amp. It's solid state. You're not going to get tube generally for that price. Although I did buy one of those Epiphone heads, just a volume knob only. And that I think how many watts was it? 5 watts. It was one tube. And let's see. Oh, well, they still have a Pathfinder, 10-watt Pathfinder. I think that's what it was, but mine was a little different than this. Let's see. Yeah, so this $89, you can't beat that. It's got pretty good ratings too. It's 4.5 stars out of 150 150 ratings. It's $89 for this one. And if you click that link, I make a percentage of it, but don't feel like you're obligated to that. If you have a store that you like to go to, I prefer you actually go to your local store. But that's very, very similar to the one, except this one doesn't have tremolo, but it does have a headphone out, which is kind of nice. So I'm assuming if you put a headphone out, it mutes the speaker, which comes in real handy. Let's see if there's anything else. Oh no, let's see. Go back. I mean, I'm just looking at. I see if there's one that's the exact one that I had. Another one, battery powered one. Bass combo, Valvetronics, mini rhythm. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the one that I got was really pretty much that Pathfinder, but I think mine had tremolo on it, and maybe even reverb. So that's a more basic amp, but for $89, that's a good little starter. And I've learned over time to not get rid of gear. Fender Champion 2 is also good. But I always like going with name brands, even on the cheap stuff, because I feel like if you ever want to sell it, you do have that option. You're more likely to sell it if it's a name brand. Anyway, let's see. Yeah, so and that is part of the thing about starting on electric is that you do have to buy an amp at some point if you want to hear yourself. And one of the things I talk about in my nail your gig thing too is if you have an amp, if you're practicing for a gig, make sure you practice loud. Your neighbors will love you. But at some point, somewhere, sometime, you're going to have to crank that amp before you get out to a live gig because the interaction between guitar and amp are very different at a low volume than they are at a high volume. And so feedback, the noise squeaks, the strings ringing out, all that stuff is amplified literally. And so if you are not used to handling that, that's why I was always been impressed with Eddie Van Halen, because he was so loud. And he was in Pasadena before I moved there. Like they were like doing parties and stuff in the 70s. But I knew a lot when I moved to Pasadena. I knew a lot of people that said, "Oh yeah, I used to go to parties with Van Halen where was the band playing at the party." But he just always played loud, and yet he still played clean. It was like this. By clean, I mean there were not a lot of extraneous noises, things that you don't want people to hear coming out of your instrument, which is very, very common when you're playing loud, and the amp is the strings squeak, open strings ring out, you get feedback, you just not. I'll tell you a funny story is I was reading an interview with Ted Nugent years ago, and he plays I don't know what he plays now, but he played a Birdland, a hollow body. And the reason he played a hollow body was because he wanted feedback. Okay. But what he would do was he would, at sound check in every venue, every stage, every venue was different. He would mark the different spots on stage where certain notes would ring out. So he found where the C would ring out the best, and he'd put an X and put C right there. And then he'd find where the D would ring out the best, and he'd put an X and a D there. And in the show, if he wanted a C note to ring out, he would run over to the C spot, stand there, and make the C ring out. And he would just let the feedback happen. I just thought that was hilarious. He's like something that most of us try to avoid. Oh, he still plays a Broodland. That's funny. This is one of the things that most of us would try to avoid. He made a career out of. So there's a lesson right there for you. You know, take the thing that everybody hates and then make that your thing. Oh, well, I guess that's what YouTube is largely. So, oh man, you know, that's so many TV shows are that. You know, it's like Fear Factor and all. Oh, awful. No, I can't do that show. Anyway, let's see what else. Any other questions? Let me see if. So what would I put in that list? You know, maybe a guitar. Actually, you know what I'm looking for right now? I'm going to type it because you won't know what I'm saying. I'm looking for a tipple. Tipple, a tipple. It's tuned like a ukulele. It's a South American instrument, but it has 10 strings. And the way it is it's 2 strings, 3 strings, 3 strings, 2 strings. And the bottom 3 strings have an octave up. So it's steel strings. So it's not nylon strings. It has a really cool sound. And I'm always looking for high instruments for playing on, particularly with a composer named Austin Wintry that I work for a lot. We're always doing interesting things. And so I'm on the hunt. I'll probably, hopefully, let's see, this week is kind of busy, but maybe this week I'll find one. If not, I may just buy one, but I'm kind of hoping to go out and play some. I'd love to get an old Martin one, but you know, the problem is they were made them in the 20s and 30s and 40s. I don't know if they still make them. Let me look that up. Martin guitars. I don't know if they still make tipples. I wonder what their tipples go for if they do. Let's see, search. Tipple. One. Limited edition. No, it's not a tipple. I don't know what the heck, why they direct me to a $150,000 guitar. Thank you, Martin website. Okay. So no. Denmark. Which microphone can you recommend record acoustic steel string guitar? Okay, here's the thing. I have a lot of mics because what I'll do is I'll think I'm in love with a microphone, and then I'll do a session somewhere, and then I go in a booth and I hear my guitar and I go, oh my gosh, it sounds so good. What mic? You know, I got to get one of those mics. So I kind of do that. I'll have a mic. The first nice mic I ever bought was a Model 1. It's right back there. I'm using it on vocals right now. And I worked for my friend Mauricio Guerrero, and he got great sounds. But of course, it's the engineer, not the microphone necessarily. However, then when I was working on some Bieber stuff, a lot of times we'd use a U87, of course, which is a great mic and expensive. But also they use this, and I like the sound of this thing. So I bought one of these, and it's an AKG 451, a C451. And these things are about $500. Okay, they're not horribly expensive. Pencil mic, good for guitars. You can't use them on vocals. The diaphragm's too small, too poppy. It would pop. Good for hi-hats. Pretty good for overhead drums. But hi-hat, acoustic guitar or acoustic instruments, you could probably use it on a piano. But for the money, I think this is a pretty good. Yeah, I'm seeing. Yeah, the Martin tipple on Reverb. You see that on Reverb, David? And then the mic that I'm using now, and you're talking about, I'm sorry, I want to make sure. Microphone you recommend? Acoustic guitar. The one I'm using now, the Gefell mic, the one that I'm talking into now, you can see here, I don't want, but these are about $1,500. And the model number on this, and this is, I was working on, I think that Hey St. Jude thing. And we were getting such great guitar sounds. I really liked this. So what I did was I bought that mic and I bought a Neve 1073 mic preamp, actually a BAE 1073 copy, so that my signal path was basically the same as the engineer that I was using. And my clients are very, very happy with that sound. But here, let me get that. Let me do another Amazon link for you if you want to buy. You can look at it this way. Please don't feel obligated to buy it this way if they even have it. C451, I think. What are they? Oh, I'm not seeing it here. Interesting. They have like cheaper versions for $99. It looks like a C451. I bet you at Sweetwater they have it. So I'll find it on Sweetwater right now. It's a pretty standard mic, and it's very useful for other, like I said, for hi-hat, overhead, percussion. It's great for percussion. So if you like congas, it's great for that. Or chimes or all that kind of stuff too. So it's a very usable mic. It's one you should have in your mic closet. Say if you had 100 mics, it would be one that you would have anyway. AKG C451. Is that right? Or is it 451C? Yeah. So it's not as expensive as I thought. Well, at Sweetwater they have the silver one. I'll put it right here. Oh, the blue mics are great. Yeah. You work with your phone. Yeah, you could do that too. You could use your phone. Yeah, I may end up buying a cheap tipple. I don't necessarily need to have a great tipple, but I wouldn't. The Martin one would be just because it's Martin. It's going to hold its value, that kind of thing. I'm not planning on selling it. I don't know. Did anybody see the auction? That was crazy. I think I talked about it last time. I didn't go to it. I didn't make bids on anything, but the Steely Dan guitar player, Donald Fagen and Walter Becker auction. The Walter Becker had thousands of guitars and pedals and amps, and unbelievable amount of gear. It kind of made you realize, you can't take it with you. It was crazy. I think it was a 2-day auction, New York, LA. You could do it online, but I didn't see anything I wanted to have. The Tommy Tedesco one that they did like a year ago, there were a bunch of things that I put offers on and I didn't get any of them. And one of them was a tipple. I wanted, how cool would it be to have one of Tommy Tedesco's instruments? And I bid on the balalaika and the tipple. I need a balalaika too. But a balalaika I can get for $200-300. I don't know any name brand balalaikas, so that's not a big deal. But the tipple, the fact that Martin makes them makes me want to have a Martin one. But if I have to buy like an Okana, like one of the Hawaiian ones that are made in China, they're only like $350 or something, $349. I'm sure it's totally fine. And for game scores, I'm sure it's totally fine. There's not going to be any sonic difference between a 1930s Martin tipple and a brand new Chinese tipple if you're mixed in with an orchestra and a million other instruments. It's just not going to be make a difference. So yeah, Renee, I hope that helps. Yeah, I was just in Amsterdam in December. I would love to go to Denmark. Last December, I love being in Europe at Christmas time. It's just so beautiful. They just do it. The streets were just decorated. I saw some pictures of Vienna at Christmas time. I just went, oh my gosh. In fact, my cousins used to go to Vienna every Christmas when I was a kid because their mom was on she was like, did some kind of thing with the Austrian government tourism board or something. So she was a tour guide. And so she would take her kids every year to Vienna, and it looks gorgeous. I'm sure Copenhagen does Christmas up right too, but it was a lot of fun being there at that time of the year. I hope to go back I don't mind the cold, but it doesn't bother me at all because I know I'm going home to LA no matter what. That's the beauty of traveling from LA is that you could go on you go to Hawaii and if it rained every day, you wouldn't care because you know you're going back to perfect weather. You actually like the rain. So um, it's 85 right now and sunny in LA. Although we did have fires and they did get close to us, but we were not evacuated. Not this past one, but the 2 weeks ago. But our house got filled a little bit of smoke, so it was a little smoky in here for a couple of days and had to dust off everything. But other than that, it wasn't bad. We had friends that lost their house, one friend that lost their home, and a lot of our friends got evacuated. A lot of them. But the firemen do a great job saving structures. They let the fires burn the hills, but they don't let it get to the structures if they can help it. So anyway, questions? More questions? I'm trying to see if I missed any. I'm sure I missed questions. There's a lot of comments here. Kathy, are you still there? Kathy, you got to get out and do stuff. Oh, see, David, you've been here the whole time. You're just hanging out. So it's pretty much. I think it's time to sign off. Oh, you're still there. Sorry, I totally meander, don't I? Let's see, what else do I have coming up? What have I been working on? My folders, I can always look at my folders and see what I worked on. Like I said, I did that holiday thing, that Mannheim Steamroller type thing for Apex Legends. So if you're a gamer, play Apex Legends. Hey, Kathy, where in Michigan are you? So yeah, I did a gospel track. I may post a video of that. In fact, I may do that today. He said I could totally post a video of that, so I may do that today. Yeah, we're doing laundry too. You can hear the laundry machine over there. Let's see, and then Pilgrim. I wrote a TV theme for Hope So. Homer. I'm looking it up right now because I spent summers in Michigan. Village. It's a village. It's not even a city. Wow, it is tiny. And you are where? Let's see. Oh, I know exactly where you are. Okay. So you're kind of, yeah, you're like straight north of the Ohio Indiana line. Okay. I was born in South Bend. My cousins and uncle lived in aunt and uncle lived in Grand Rapids. We used to go to Lake City every summer, which is up by Cadillac. We owned it. My mom was raised in Lake City, and my grandfather was a congressman, and he built like 18 cabins on Lake Misaki and kept one in the family. So one is still in the family up there, but my cousin has it. And then the last 20 years, we've gone up to Pentwater, which is due north of Muskegon and just south of Ludington. We rented a house on Lake Michigan, so we had great views and great time on the water. But yeah, no, Michigan is great. It's one of those states that most people don't go to because it's surrounded by water. So Indiana, everybody goes to Indiana because they're driving somewhere. They're going from LA to Chicago, or I mean LA to New York, or New York to LA, and they go through Indiana and they go boring. But Michigan's really cool because there's so much water, and I found that people were really active in the summer because it's not very warm very often. So we were always lots to do when we were up there. There was always people wanting to play tennis or go swimming or boating or something. So. Oh, I would love to hear Ancient of Days on an acoustic. I'm working on that song. Ancient of Days. Oh my gosh. What's his name wrote that? I'm pretty sure Ancient of Days was written by Jamie Harville, was it not? I toured Korea with Jamie Harville. So let's see, Ancient of Days. It's been a while since I played that song. I used to lead it though. Yeah, Jamie Harville. Yeah. Jamie Harville, Gary Sadler. Yeah. I haven't seen them in forever. Like I said, I used to work for Maranatha Music doing clinics. So Jamie was part of that whole team, and so was Gary. And I don't have it. Well, let's see. I couldn't tell you right now. I don't remember. It's been so long since I played it. Is it 6/8? It's probably a 6/8 song. What do you think about the Alhambra classical guitars? I have picked them up a couple times at Guitar Center. I can't remember. My classical guitar is a mine is a Asturias, which I've never seen another one of these. And it's made in Japan, but the designer was a Spanish. The builder was a Spanish guy, so I guess he lived in Japan or something. And I've had this guitar since the '90s. I don't have my classical chops up right now. I don't have my nails. I did a video on buying an acoustic guitar, and I think it would apply to classical guitar, a lot of stuff. I think if you can get someone that plays to go with you and to play it, that someone, unless you're a really good classical player, let's see, what am I thinking? But if you can find someone that plays and you sit in front of it, you can hear it better, and you can kind of compare and contrast classical guitars. The problem at Guitar Center or music stores is that classical guitar strings tend to be really dead because so many kids are picking them up and getting their greasy hands all over the strings. It really tends to ruin the strings. Really, the strings don't last very long, unfortunately. I find so that you lose a lot of the quality. And it's not a lot. Sometimes if I'm really looking to buy an instrument at a store, I'll bring a set of strings with me and put new strings on it. If the strings really, I'll have a set of strings in my car so that I can go get them and put them on. And then they know I'm serious. But with classical strings, you can't really do that because they don't. It takes forever for them to stretch out too. So you could put them on and they still wouldn't be playable for an hour after that. So. I'm trying to think of a piece. But yeah, I would, what I would do is I would go to websites like Sweetwater and look up Alhambra and see what the ratings are. And if something has like 50 ratings and it's in the 4 to 5 range, 4 to 5 stars, then I would say, in general, Alhambras are probably pretty good. I just don't know anything about them. So sometimes I have to depend on the goodwill of other people review. I should do more reviews on, Amazon and places like that to help people out because it is very helpful. If you see something that's like 5 stars and 500 reviews, you go, okay, this is a safe bet before you pull out your wallet. So, okay, so that version of Ancient of Days must be a different. That must be a different version. Yeah, that's not the one that I know. The one I know is probably 25 years old. Because when I was with Jamie in '99, that was 20 years ago. That was in Korea. That song we were doing it. It was kind of one of his hits. Oh, you're originally from Quebec. So, Kathy, do you speak French? The year you graduated. Shut up, Kathy. You already proved that you're a punk. Yeah, we took our kids to Paris twice. We homeschooled all 3 of our kids all the way through high school, and we did field trips. And our field trips would be Rome and Vienna and Paris and London. So we had a blast. But yeah, all three of our kids speak a little French. My wife speaks French, so that's why. Oh, Maranatha. I don't know. Does Maranatha make guitar? Is there a company that makes Maranatha guitars? Yeah. No. When I say I play for Maranatha, it was a worship music company in California. I think they're defunct now. Part of the reason they're defunct is because they took way too good a care of us when we would tour. We'd always, we always had our own hotel room. They always took us out to dinner. They paid us pretty well. I don't know that they ever charged enough for the clinics. And the problem was when they were doing the clinics too, all of a sudden all these mega churches started doing their own clinics and people would travel to those mega churches to take the clinic there. So um, that's um, that was kind of what kind of hurt them, I think. That and I think they also didn't sign major Christian artists like some of the other worship labels were doing. So they kind of let that slide. They had several of them in their camp that signed with other labels because they wouldn't let them put out solo records. They wanted only like group records. So I don't know. And that's kind of my view of it, but that's nobody cares. So, well, listen, I'm going to sign off. It's been an hour and a half, and I'm going to do some work, and then I got to go to. Speaking of church, I got to go to church and play, and then we'll talk later. And if you want to, well, I'll post it in another week. Um, the mini guitars, the Martins and the Taylors are pretty good quality. But they're all going to sound like toys, the little guitars. My daughter just bought one. I think it was the DR16 Junior or something. I can't remember what it was called. And she likes it, but she noticed. She says, "Well, it sounds a little thin, a little toy-like." And I said, "Yeah, that's the case with most cheap guitars and most little guitars. They're going to sound toy-like." And so it serves a purpose. If the neck is normal size, that's good. If the neck is smaller, that's not going to help you graduate to a regular guitar, a better guitar down the road because your hands are going to be used to that smaller fret. And you get a nice Martin Dreadnought, and all of a sudden it feels too big. You're going to want something with a more standard neck, width and length. So if you can do that. Oh, the price range on those, yeah, they're not necessarily cheap. You're looking at anywhere from 250 to 500 for the baby Taylors and the baby Martins. They may go a little bit lower than that. Oh yeah, the Taylor. Well, the bigger Taylors. A baby Taylor is cheaper than 800, but the what is it? The MS, the GS. I don't know. I haven't shopped for. Well, I did shop for that with my daughter, but she picked it out, so I just kind of confirmed it. We bought it from Sweetwater, and they sent it right to her, which was great. So, well, listen, I'm going to sign off. Thank you for watching. Sorry about the beginning of this video. Hopefully, if people watch it in the future, they'll go past that. I might be able to chop that off where the sound wasn't on. Yeah, GS Mini 500 on Sweetwater. Yeah, so it's a pretty good deal, and they have free shipping, so you don't have to worry about that. So, anyway, God bless you guys. I'll talk soon. I'll do this again in a couple weeks, maybe no more than 4 weeks. Okay. Bye bye.